Adam, we are back once again with another look at the top 10 draft picks, teams that are struggling, teams that need a bit of help, and we're going to look at where it's gone wrong for them and what they can do in the future. Look at a few draft picks, see where they're going, and we are back with number 10, and for us, we're bringing up the draft. That, in our eyes, is they're at 11 at the moment. I think, Cincinnati are better than them currently, despite their defense. And that's the New Orleans Saints. I know one that you've been really excited to talk about because you've got done loads of research and you've looked into this quite heavily. So take it away, Adam. How have they found themselves in this spot, and what have you found?
Yeah, the Saints are interesting, should we say. It's been an interesting read and having a look. Now, obviously, we all remember the Saints being amazing. Peyton and Breeze, head coach and quarterback, and that great combination. And the base, it got them a Super Bowl back in 2009. That one thing I didn't realize, they were a top 15 offense every year that they were there. That's how good offensively they were. And they had a pretty good defense at certain times as well. But there was an interesting, basically what they've done is, so back in 2020, which was the last season, turned out to be last season of Drew Brees, they went 12-4, got into the playoffs, didn't win it, but had a good season. And then it kind of started to fall apart as soon as he went. Then Sean Payton goes after the 2021 season. And in 2022, you've got Dennis Allen come in. And that was the point, sort of, before that, when Sean Payton went, that was when they needed to go, that's it. We're done. We need to reset. So what they did is the complete opposite. And they kept trying to win. They kept kicking the can down the road with all the money and kept on pushing it back and back and back. And then they ended up going in 22. They went 7-10, 23, 9-8. So not too bad in 23. And then this year, it's been a tough year for them, and they're 5-8. So it's been a really difficult one for them. But the problem is you've been trying to keep pushing the money back, but you've been trying to win without Drew Brees. You've been trying to win with Andy Dalton. You've been trying to win with Derek Carr, and now you've got Spencer Rattler. And as we're recording on a Sunday morning, week 15. Jake Haener, is that right? Mm-hmm. Is starting this game. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So it's a bit of a mental thing to do. Your general manager, who's been there throughout all of it, when you actually look at what he's done, he's had some amazing draft classes. He really has, where he's done really, really well in the past. Mickey Loomis, he's predicted to basically stick around. I must admit, through reading about it, I had a quick read. There was an article I read from Kyle Krabs on the 33rd team, where I didn't realize that there was so much of a connection between the ownership and Mickey Loomis. So it's like he's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's a really strong connection there, and that's just the end of it. So we don't have to worry about that at all. Obviously, they don't have a head coach at the moment. Darren Rizzi is the interim head coach, as Dennis Allen was fired this season. I think it would be surprising if they stuck with him. I know that they like him, but I think it would be quite surprising if they stuck with him. And there are a lot of there's a lot of potential candidates, but this is a big rebuild that this team is going to have to go through in order to do it. And you're going to lose a lot of players are going to go here, and you need to get young very, very quickly. So it's quite an interesting team to look at. But if you just look at some of the draft classes that they've had, and you can see where there was success and how come they were such a good playoff team. if you look back at 2016, you've got the likes of Sheldon Rankins, Michael Thomas, Von Bell, really good players that lasted for a really long time. The 2017 class is insane, like absolutely ridiculous. You got Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, Alex Anzalone, Trey Hendrickson, crazy sort of classes. And they really hit on these guys. And then if you start going back and you go along in time, further in time, it just starts going a bit wrong. And it's almost like you can't, the idea of being able to hit on a draft class like they did in 2017, you're never going to get that again, kind of thing. But you look at it and it's like 2020, they got Cesar Ruiz and Zach Bourne. And Zach Bourne's been all right, but he hasn't been good for them. He's been good for the Eagles. Adam Troutman, he's been all right, but for the Broncos, not for them. He hasn't been great, but he's been okay. 2021, they brought in like Peyton Turner. Pete Werner's been okay, but like Ian Book, you drafted Ian Book in the 4th round in 21. 2022, Chris Olave, good. So that's fine. Trevor Penning, it hasn't really worked with Trevor Penning. It's been awful. Nothing really else there. But if you actually look at some of these as well, 2020, they only had 4 picks. 2022, they only had 5 picks. There's not a lot of depth there. And then you look at the last couple of years, and some of them haven't been too bad. Brian Brzee, he struggled a bit, but I think he's looked okay.
I think he's played well this season.
I think he's looked okay. Isaiah Foskey, all right. Kendre Miller hasn't really done anything.
Been injured.
2024, Fuanga, I really looked really good.
Yeah,
but again, 2024, you got Fuanga in the 1st round, Kool-Aid McKinstry round 2, and then nothing until round 5. So it's just lacking the ability to sort of rotate the roster is the problem, and that's why they've ended up where they are. So it is quite an interesting one. It's a difficult one. They've then got minus 70 million in cap space. So they've also got 48 million in dead money as well, but that's just something else. But yeah, so they're in a position where a lot needs to change, and I think they have to look at it as though the general manager isn't going anywhere. He will stay, but they need to get a new head coach. And I think they need to get someone who is going to be happy and is going to understand that this is a multi-year rebuild and this is going to take time. They have to be happy with them. So I think it's going to be a young guy who they're going to, need to get in there and try and get some excitement back in New Orleans.
There's probably a guy that New Orleans might be excited about. Joe Brady.
Yes.
LSU, took them to their championship and won it. So I think there's going to be a lot of people in New Orleans that still have fond memories and love for him. So he could be the candidate for them. Yeah.
So when I had a look, lots of guys that are potential here. We've mentioned quite a lot of them in other shows as well. Joe Brady, as you say, the LSU connection, there is a something there where you sort of feel like that would make a lot of sense. Todd Monken at the Ravens, I think, would be good. Obviously, Ben Johnson at the Lions would be a good candidate. Other ones, Liam Cohen at the Bucks, I think, is a good one. And the other one I did look at, and maybe not so much because his offense hasn't been so fantastic, but a lot of people were excited about him last year. Bobby Slowick, the Texans, I think is one that could potentially have quite a few interviews. And then the only other guy that I thought of, who I think it might be 1 year too early, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to see him go. I'd want to see him stay where he is Jesse Minter at the Chargers. I think it would be a year too early for him to go, but he's someone who, because of what he's done at the Chargers, without changing the players, that's the thing. He's done it with what was there, basically, and I think that shows quite a lot of skill and talent there. So I think he's definitely a head coach for the future. But I kind of would like to see him stay with the Chargers for another year.
Yeah, I don't want to see him move from the Charge. I think
No.
he works well with Harbour. It's nice there. Give him a few more years. He's not long out of the college game, so yeah, I think he sticks around there. Should we take a look at their roster and see where the holes are and who's leaving and where they can bring some people in?
Where the holes are everywhere.
Well, they're not everywhere. They've got a very talented running back that they've
that's
now
true.
re-signed to another deal. I think they've got the most expensive running back room in football.
So they're currently minus 73 million on the cap. So we're not bringing anybody in. That's not what we're doing here. They're going to have to basically get rid of a lot. Not loads, but like it's about getting rid of some big names, and also it's about restructuring a lot of veterans and then bringing in a lot of young guys into this team. So basically, Cam Jordan and Ryan Ramczyk are both very, very old, and they need to retire. So if you do a post June 1st retirement, then you're saving yourself 29 million by doing that. So that brings you down to 44. Next up, you've got to somehow trade away Derek Carr. Yeah, it's too much money. You need to get rid of him. Okay, so if you can trade him away, and this is like you're probably going to have to give picks and Derek Carr in order to maybe get a pick back. So this is almost like you're basically dumping the money is what you're doing here. So you need to get rid of Derek Carr. So that will save you 11 million, which brings you down to 33 million. Then the next bit so I've looked at lots of different things, articles, videos of people that have gone through it. And one of the things is basically restructuring pretty much every other veteran who's there. So I'm talking about Kamara again, Carl Granderson, Ruiz, Demario Davis, Eric McCoy, Pete Werner, all of them guys being restructured. If you restructure all of them and push some of the money back again, but not loads of it, you can save yourself another 25 million from that. So if we say 25 million, you've got 8 million left. You then cut Kalen Sanders, Foster Moreau, you're down to 3 million. And then you can maybe restructure Taysom Hill, or Matthew is another one that you could restructure, the corner, Tyrann Mathieu, you could do that. If you do all of that, then you can probably get yourself to zero.
And then they can't sign any of the free agents.
You cannot sign any free agents.
Or any of the rookies.
No. So this is the problem. So it's like you get to that. Maybe there's some others that you can restructure as well. There's like Willie Gay's around. I don't know. Like I'm sure there's some Willie Gay's a free agent, so you can't restructure. So this is really, really difficult, and it's just like, but that's the sort of thing that you need to do, and basically you need to try and keep. So these are the veterans that you keep because you've restructured them. They're the only ones that you got. You then go and bring in as many young guys as you can for as cheap as you can, mainly through the draft, but also through other things. It's going to be really difficult, but that's the only way you can do it. And I think for the Saints, I think 2025 is just going to be a complete tank for Arch Manning.
Arch Manning, yeah. Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Because obviously Archie Manning, granddad, played for the Saints. So,
and I think that's the only way you can go about it. And like I said, I've read a few articles, I've seen a few videos of lots of different people who are far cleverer than what I am, who have gone through all of this, and it's almost like this is the only way that you can bring it down. You're not really getting rid of loads of players. Obviously, you're losing your two big names in Ramczyk and Jordan, but they are getting older, and it is just reaching that point with them. You have no quarterback.
If they don't want to retire,
encourage them to.
Would it be trading them, cutting them? But do they have to retire?
I think they have to retire. I think if you cut them, then you're not going to make the money. If you trade them, you're probably not going to make the money either. So, yeah, I mean, you just have to. I mean, Ramchek's been talking about retiring anyway. So that one's the big one. That one's 18 million of the 29. So that's probably going to happen anyway. Cam Jordan, I think, obviously he probably could still carry on playing, but I think it's going to be like what's the name, isn't it? Like how Drew Brees was. He came out and said he was retiring in January, and then they did the accounting part of it afterwards, so that you get the money off the book. So I think they're just going to have to. They have to trade Derek Carr in order to do this. I mean, I don't know who's taking him on. So I don't know.
Who wants Derek Carr?
Well, the only thing I would say is, as we know, last year, in the same way it happened last year, and normally it happens pretty much every year, one of these teams that needs a quarterback is not going to get a starting caliber quarterback. And Carr has shown that he is still capable.
Oh yeah. I think he's not. He's still a top 32 quarterback, isn't he? He still can. He's one of the. Can be a starter. He's still starter caliber.
So what I would say, okay, so if we look at
how much
just
are they going
purely,
to pay him?
well, I think it's very much going to be a case of you're giving picks away with him to maybe get a pick back.
So you get a pick back, and then the team that takes him takes on his full contract, right?
Yeah.
So who and how much is he on?
Going
to cost someone else?
I mean, I would imagine.
I know they can get him and then restructure him, but
I would have thought he must be on. What's he on? Let's have a look. So he signed a 4-year, 150 million deal. So that was a good investment by the Saints. So next year, his base salary is 30 million.
Okay.
So
I mean,
he's probably going to be restructured, isn't he? So
yeah, someone will bring him in and restructure him. But Vegas, no. Giants, no. New England, no. Carolina, no. Jacksonville,
New England
no.
could. New England have got loads of money.
There's no. Why would they bring Derek Carr in?
Well, they might look at it as though they've got loads of holes, so they would trade back, get out more picks, create more around the whole team, and then bring Derek Carr in as their quarterback.
New England? Did you say New England?
Yeah, sorry, not New England. They've got May, haven't they? Yeah, that's true. So New England wouldn't want him. Carolina wouldn't want. Tennessee?
Maybe, because we said that they trade for Sam Darnold. So there's a possibility they might want Derek Carr. As a maybe.
Yeah.
Jets, no. Surely.
No, I wouldn't
have. And Carr. Just start. No. Cleveland, maybe.
Maybe.
But they're paying Watson and they're in a bit of cap trouble. So no.
Yeah.
Chicago, no. Bengals, no. Saints obviously got him. Dallas, no. San Francisco.
I mean,
who wants him? Seattle?
Yeah, possibly. They might. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say he's any better than Geno, but they might go down that route. The other thing you've got to remember is that they might. I know, obviously, it's a lot of money, but it might end up being a team that takes him on as just to take. Yes, they've got to pay a lot of money, but if they've got loads of money available, they might just take him on as a backup.
There's a possibility it might be the Giant. No, because Giants are paying Daniel Jones still, aren't they?
But if you've got say so someone like New England, yes, you've got Drake May, but Jacoby Brissett's a free agent, so he just goes. Do you just bring him in as a backup to sit behind Drake May?
No.
But they've got the money to do it.
They've got Joe Milton and just bring Jacoby back.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the thing. It's about what do you go for? So we said, didn't we, when we did the Tennessee show, that Tennessee are a team that are unlikely to be able to move up for the top two. You know, who knows if someone moves up? What happens if New England do trade down? and decide to get more picks for a team that like Cleveland, and they go up to number 3 and they get Joe Milton. Not Joe Milton. They go out and get Jalen Milroe. So, you know, it's like if that happens and then the top 3 are all gone, there's always one team that misses out. And they might look at it and go, okay, we can take him on. We've got the money to take him on, because they do, Tennessee. And that's one way that we can, we might get we get some picks as well.
You never know. There might be a team that bizarrely goes for a trade with a quarterback that isn't Derek Carr. Some team goes, what? We're gonna trade, and then that other team, you know, what if might not happen. What if Joe Burrow says, "I'm sick of the Bengals. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not playing for you. I'm done." They might be forced to trade him, and then might bring in a Derek Carr. I think that scenario could happen.
I mean, what happens if Stafford decides to retire?
Yeah, they need a backup plan.
What happens if JJ McCarthy is still injured and Darnold? They don't want to franchise tag Darnold and stuff like that. And
they've got Daniel Jones. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm sure. Well, I'll have to go and have a look at that. We know they're not bringing any free agents, so we'll jump straight to the draft for them.
Yeah,
and we'll take a look at what they can bring in the draft. They might have more picks by the end of it if they get rid of their whole team, but then also they've got to pay these rookies, which I'm unsure how they're going to do that.
No, it's going to be really difficult, and it is just about constantly restructuring, guys. They got 4 picks in the first 3 rounds, so that helps them a little bit. But
trade out of that first. Trade out of that first down to the second, and because that first will cost too much for you.
Yeah. When you look at the team needs, I mean, obviously it is kind of pretty much all over the board. You could go anywhere, but if we are trading Derek Carr away, obviously a quarterback is a potential need. However, Spencer Rattler kind of makes sense based on the fact of what we want to achieve here, which is basically to get Arch Manning in 2026. So we're probably not going to bother going there. Other than that, I actually think it's like, I think O-line, D-line and edge, I think is something, especially if you just got rid of Cam Jordan. Ramchek's gone. So offensive tackles way forward. I think corner would help them. I think really it's kind of, in a weird kind of way, it is a little bit like best player available, because there are very few areas where they are completely good. So wide receiver, obviously they got Chris Olave. So
running back, fine. Wide receiver,
so you got your wide receiver 1, so that's okay. Running back, you're going to end up restructuring Alvin Kamara, so you're going to stick with Alvin Kamara. So you don't really want to go there. But I do think O-line, I don't think it's done very well. I think tight end is a potential you could look at, but I think that you're probably going to be looking at the 3rd round for that. And then edge rusher kind of feels like the way forward. Chase Young is a free agent, so I think that you might want to bring in an edge rusher there. And then just kind of like D-line and offense, O-line, D-line, edge rusher, and maybe a tight end.
I think they're fine at left tackle, so they're not desperate for a left tackle. I think Penning, there is time for him to improve at right tackle. So maybe D-line is the best for me. Looking at that, Abdul Carter's not on our board. Looking at that, Starks is good at safety. He's around that price. Maybe I'd be picking him around that sort of 13 to 16 mark, maybe. But I think Mason Graham is easily best player available. Absolute stud on the D-line. And like I say, best player available is probably what they want to do at each stage here.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, and that makes sense. Do we think that Mason Graham will actually be there though?
Possibility that he'll be there. I think if you've got 3 quarterbacks, Travis Hunter, a couple of wide receivers, then the O linemen go. Abdul Carter. Then I think you know because it's D line. I think that's probably. He probably might be there at 11. I think that's That's good. So
I think the Saints. Just while you have a look for the next one, I think that the Saints are a very, very big candidate to trade back. I think they need to accumulate as many picks as they can. And as great as it would be to get someone like Mason Graham, I do think that that is something that they should probably be looking at doing. Unfortunately, when you look at the history of them, Mickey Loomis has a tendency to move up and get his guy, which is partly the reason why they haven't had enough draft picks in order to rotate the roster. So they need to look at it a completely different way and sort of come back, even if it's just a few spots, just to be able to pick up some more picks to make this roster a bit younger.
They could go. I mean, we've already had Booker gone. We think he's going top of the second. Cameron Williams, I'm surprised he's still there. He would be great for them for right tackle if they wanted to go down that line here. Do you think that's probably sensible for them to go O-line
Yeah,
here?
I mean, they need to do something. As I said, Trevor Penning not being great. Maybe he would be a little bit better if he was inside.
Yeah, they can move him. Equally, there's still some edge rushers on here that they could dip in if they wanted to go D-line edge rusher as well. So for me, it's either Cam Williams or JT Tulimuau, or well, I've had Princely already go. So let's go. I think they go edge with the next. I think they double down on defense. I think that's good for them. I think O-line, like I said, they've got their left tackle, so I'm not worried too much about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this draft is all about the trenches for them and getting younger and being able to almost start the rebuild before the quarterback turns up. I think is what this is all about. And so going for like O-line, D-line is a really good idea. Although, as I said, I do think maybe a tight end on one of these picks as well is the way forward.
Well, I'm going to go O-line in this pick, the right tackle there in Cornelius. So I think that's the right choice for them there. And then we'll look at what they've got. There's still, all the guys are still there on, there you go. Their last pick. I know we've already had him go, but Gooderhelm would be perfect for them at this point as well. So just look at the wide receivers quickly. Equally, they could dip in there as well. In Tez Johnson or any of the other guys, really. But tight end, Gunnerhelm for them. They've got Taysom Hill, haven't they? I know he's good. They've got Juwan Johnson.
So, yes, well, Juwan Johnson's a free agent, so he probably won't be back. Taysom Hill, we would have restructured him because we've restructured everybody.
Do you know what? I think they go wide receiver here then, and they take Terrence Ferguson later on in the draft. And I think they go wide receiver here with Chris Olave. Do you think that would be sensible?
I mean, it wouldn't be an awful idea. As I say, they've got Chris Olave. They haven't really got anything else. Valdez Scantling is a free agent. You're looking at Cedric Wilson as your next one. Not a lot else. So yeah, I mean, obviously Rashid Shaheed is out for the rest of this season, but is a good one. So they need a third guy. Because you've got Olave and Shaheed, and that's pretty much it, really, of real quality. So
I was just looking at the safeties and cornerbacks for them. Cornerback, there's still Denzel Burke on there, but yeah, let's take Tez Johnson for them. Oh, they've got Shaheed, haven't they? Let's go defense. Let's go defense. I think I've already had him go somewhere, haven't I? At Denzel Burke.
Possibly.
I have, but for all intents and purposes, he's locked in.
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be a really tough one for the Saints. There's a lot to do, and it's really difficult. This draft, obviously, like I say, it's all about building up the trenches and kind of like and bringing in young players that are really going to help them. So I think Mason Graham's going to be great for them, and then obviously the other guys you've got there are not bad as well. So it's about getting younger
players. So I think that would be good for
exactly. So it's about getting younger. It's about making a difference, and they really need to change their mindset, and they need to stop kicking the can down the road. They're going to have to kick it down the road a little bit, just purely because you're going to have to restructure all these guys in order to be able to have a team. But in reality, they need to just get younger, bring in a new head coach young, exciting head coach, I think is the way forward for this one. as you said, Joe Brady makes an awful lot of sense. So that would be one that I think would get the fans on side as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's probably the way forward. And Saints fans, unfortunately, it's going to take a few years for you to be able to do this. But this is what happens when you constantly kick the can down the road for as many years as you have. And there should have been a realization that once Drew Brees and especially once Sean Payton as well had gone, that it just wasn't going to happen for you for a few years. And all you've done is made it worse. That's all they've done. And so they're just going to make it longer and harder to sort it out. But this is a good start.
Good start. I'll be keeping an eye on what they do with Derek Carr. I'll be looking out for teams that I think could potentially go for him. But that is our top 10. That is them all done. Hope you've really enjoyed them. And don't forget, keep it with the franchise tag.